Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Curious Midlife podcast. And I'm excited today. I have Leah Levitan with me, who is a certified massage and lymphatic drainage therapist. I got that right. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you did.
Cool. So thank you for joining us. And so, Leah, tell me, how did all of this work begin for you? Because we all kind of have a story, and a lot of us end up like teaching the things or sharing the things that were apparent to us on our journeys just through life, of like trying to be better, trying to sort stuff out, trying to be happier, trying to be more at ease, and all of those things. So what's been your journey to get you to the point where I find you on Instagram and go, oh, this lady's doing all this really cool stuff that I really love, and she's telling people like about their bras and about bouncing around and about the lymphatic system and all of that stuff. So what's your journey, or share some of your story with us?
Sure. Yeah. How did I get to talking about boobs on the internet? No.
Love it. Yeah.
So I've been a licensed massage therapist for quite some time now, and I was working with pro level athletes, and it's not the easiest work. And I actually developed chronic pain myself. I had chronic neck and back pain, and it really almost ended my career. So I really had to take a look at the type of body work that I was doing so that I could continue doing the work that I love. And I found this guy, Perry Nicholston from Stop Chasing Pain. And he was just really passionate about the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system was something that we really cruised over in massage school. And that's kind of a theme for medical professionals, is they just sort of like, oh yeah, the lymph, and then the lymphatic system. Then there's that. So I just really started following his work and found his passion to be so contagious. And once I got certified in lymphatic drainage, I knew immediately why, because when I applied it to my practice in Austin, my brick and mortar biz, it just turned out that these clients that had sort of plateaued, some cases where I just couldn't help them with more traditional techniques. It turned out that this lymphatic drainage was like the missing piece for a lot of them. So I knew then and there, I was like, man, I thought this was going to be a tool that I used on occasion. I thought it was something that was just going to be a thing. And it has taken over. It has reshaped my practice, my passion, my purpose, everything. I'm obsessed.
Excellent. I mean, my mom tells me I'm like obsessed with things, and I'm like, no, I'm just passionate. When you call obsession, I just call passion.
Yes.
And to also say to some of that, like the manual body workers I know are strong as hell, and you need to be strong as hell to do a lot of this manual body work in a lot of conventional massage therapy kind of modality. So I was with a group of friends doing a workshop, and I actually had a grip strength measurer in my car with me. And nearly all the women at this event were massage therapists. And I was like, humor me.
Let's get it out.
Let's do your grip strength. And they were like, everyone was in the top elite grip strength for their age group. And you could look at some of these women and you would not have that as I'm putting my money on them being the strong elites. So just how we use our hands and how we use those things and all of that work, I think that's just my personal, like, thank you to all the people who do that work. And then also the strains and demands that has on people. So can you give us what's the 101? What's the basics of what is the lymphatic system?
Sure. I love this question because someone listening to every podcast episode that I do, they're always coming in from a new perspective. So it's nice to have like a good little summary, and I switch it up sometimes, but think about the cardiovascular system. We all are aware with that system, right? We've got our heart that pumps blood to and from and serves up some oxygen and nutrients to our tissue. But right alongside it, there's this other system, our lymphatic system, the invisible part of our vascular system. And that's really responsible for removing the waste once our body is done with these nutrients. So it's really responsible for kind of cleaning our cells and keeping them nice and happy.
And where is it?
It's everywhere.
Like
It's really everywhere. So, you know, a lot of people are familiar with what lymph nodes are. Those are actually little systems in our lymphatic system. They're little organs, and there's immune cells in there. So our lymphatic system is a huge part of our immune system. And these lymph nodes are actually clustered kind of all over our body. So if we go back to that cardiovascular visual, you'll get all of those, you know, all of these little rivers that kind of flow, and they flow from little tiny tributaries to giant flowing rivers. And the lymph nodes are kind of stationed around our major joints. So a third of our lymph nodes are in our head and neck. And if you think about the brain,
people get really like stiff necks and stiff shoulders and
yeah. And also when we get swollen lymph nodes, it usually happens there, right? In our throat, in our neck, we kind of feel these lymph nodes. And it's because it's our immune system. It's guarding these doors, these entryways into our body. So yeah, we've got these lymph nodes that are kind of stationed everywhere, and this clear fluid that flows through these rivers. They really go in and out of these lymph nodes. And so that the lymph nodes can really filter and clean this stuff so that it can be recycled and go back into our cardiovascular system as plasma. Not all of it goes back, because a lot of that cellular waste has to leave our body, but the lymphatic system doesn't detoxify. It really is responsible for kind of gathering everything up, and then it sends it to our detox organs, which are our liver, our kidneys, our colon, skin, and lungs. So sometimes when people are having detox symptoms, they can really express just based on what that organ is dealing with and is maybe challenged by.
Mm-hmm. And I know through Perry Nicholson's work, and a lot of people I know who are very vocal about sharing the like, hey, let's go pay some attention to the lymphatic system, that there's an emotional connection to all of these things as well. So how does that play out in this intersection of the lymphatic system, these organs, and our kind of emotional movement through the world day by day?
Oh, I love that. Yes, I feel like there's such a soul component to this type of work. And the body work that I was doing before, it just didn't have the same effect. So now people are having like a lot of emotional releases with this type of work. It's almost like a somatic nervous system release. And while there isn't a ton of research to kind of connect, you know, lymphatic drainage and this, it's like we know that we store emotions in our tissue. We say like issues in our tissues, mm-hmm. right? So I think because of where lymph comes from, like the lymphatic fluid, it starts in the interstitial fluid, which is the fluid that surrounds the cells of our body. It starts there. And so when we create this vacuum and we're getting all this lymphatic fluid moving, there's no pump, not like we have a pump for the cardiovascular. So it's really a pressure system. And when we get that stuff moving and we're starting to pull this interstitial fluid into the lymphatic vessels, this is where it becomes lymph. It's not really lymph until it gets there. Then it's part of the lymphatic system. So in my mind, I'm just like visualizing this disruption of cells, you know, like little currents around the cells. And that I just can't help but feel like the wisdom of our cells. That's when it sort of feels like, okay, I can sort of let this go. I feel safe to let this go.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, we can be on the move. Like we can literally like move, take a step forward kind of in that. And how do people improve? Like, what do we do to support our lymphatic system?
Well, that's kind of the amazing thing about it. There's so many things that we can do, but we're so inundated with information that it feels overwhelming. We forget that it's easy.
I love easy. I love simple. Give it.
I love easy too.
Yeah.
So I really, you know, the first thing that I ever did for my lymphatic system was dry brushing. And I didn't even really understand why I was doing it or what it was doing. I was like, my mom does it. Everybody does it. They say it's good for you.
And I used to see it and I thought like, oh, is that like just for people with flaky skin? I don't really know what's going on there.
Yeah, great for exfoliation. And it is very stimulating for our lymphatic system. But we have a superficial lymphatic system and we have a deep lymphatic system. And the things that we're doing to the surface of our skin aren't necessarily going to reach those deeper parts. So it really comes down to lymph, I call it lymph tension, where we're being intentional with what we're doing and maybe doing some things that we would already be doing, but now for our lymphatic systems.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, muscle activation moves lymph. So movement is such a big part of what I teach, and not exercise, but movement, you
You're in the
know.
right place. This is the podcast for that. We're all
Yeah.
about like.
Yeah. Katie Bowman is like my queen. Someday I hope to meet her.
She's coming on the podcast in 2 weeks' time. So if she's coming
Will
on my
you?
podcast, she can come on your podcast.
Okay. I don't have a podcast, but maybe someday when I do, she'll be on it.
There you go.
Dreaming big. But yeah, when it comes to improving our lymphatic health overall, it's everything that we're already doing in regards to how we care for ourselves, you know, the food that we eat, the movement that we get, how we regulate our nervous systems, and how well we sleep. There's always a lymphatic component to everything that we do that is good for us.
And what does your so I follow you on Instagram, and you are, is it, am I saying it right, like Lymph Love Club?
Yeah, that's right.
Lymph Love Club, yeah. And you do a lot of things that I see people who aren't necessarily, some people are aware of the lymphatic system, and other people are just like, this is kind of trauma release and just feels good. So there's a lot of this kind of bounce, shake, vibrate kind of thing. So what would some of your like simple, fun movements, intentional lymph movements look like?
I really like I like Dr. Perry's Big Six, which is, you know, rubbing, slapping, and tapping on those 6 lymphatic choke points in the body.
Can you just go through what those are for people?
Yeah, for sure. So number 1 is actually just above the collarbones. This is where the lymphatic fluid goes back into our bloodstream. So even from your hands and feet, the farthest corners of your body, it all pretty much ends up here. So not pretty much, it all ends up here, but some on this side, some on that side. So we start with kind of, you know, rubbing this. Let's just do it. Here, let's go. So we're going to do this one. And you could rub, slap, or tap this area for like, you know, 10, 15 seconds. Number 2, it's going to be the largest lymph node in the neck, which is just below the ear. And this happens to be right where the vagus nerve exits the spine. So just take your fingertips and do some little circles just below the ear.
And this is a gentle touch. This isn't like trigger pressure stuff. Yeah.
What's interesting, and then we're going to go in the other direction. What's interesting about the lymphatic system is that gentle is really powerful. The more aggressively you do something, the less lymphatic stimulation you'll get, which is interesting.
And I just love that as a counterpoint for so many movement things, in that.
Now we're going down to the armpits, guys. If y'all are following along and listening, we're rubbing our armpits.
Just that I'm always saying to people, the more relaxed you are, the stronger you are.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the idea that we have to, like, yes, you need to recruit tension in movement, but you need to be able to let it go as well.
Yes. It's like surrendering to the flow.
Love that. Yeah.
Surrendering to the flow of life. All right. So number 3 was the armpits. Number 4 is the abdomen. So you can just rub your abdomen. Oh, we're going to do it. And we're wearing matching outfits too.
We're the ladies in black rubbing our bodies on a podcast.
And we'll go in the other direction.
Feels so nice.
Yes. And then we're going down to the hips. And you can just rub in one direction and then the other. And yeah, you can kind of do that little slap tap. And the last one is above and below the knees.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we're going to just come on down. I like your way better. I'm going to bring it up here.
And it's funny. It's almost like these are the things that my dog loves. Like the rubbing, the stroking, the tapping.
Now creatures. So now that we've got it all opened up, now we got to rebound for a second, just on the balls of our feet. Yes.
I love it.
So I'm just going to hold myself here.
I very intentionally wore no support in honor of the podcast.
I'm wearing no support, but I'm wearing like a crop it out of the frame no support. You know what I mean?
Feeling vulnerable. Yeah, no, just like sharing too much.
So yeah, that's it. It's so easy, and it's something that I share with my clients, and it's one of Dr. Perry's cornerstone things that he does. Other than that, I really love, I'll tell people to dry brush with their legs up the wall, so that gravity is sort of slowly helping that lymphatic fluid back to the heart, while we're also encouraging the dry, the stimulation on the surface of the skin. I just tell people, and even the way that we put on our lotion or whatever moisturizer, if you do it in a way that is like, all right, cool, I'm always working towards the heart, I'm using a little less pressure, I'm just trying to be intuitive and gentle, working slowly, like at the pace of our nervous system.
Yes. Yeah.
And that can really bring us into the parasympathetic and add a lot of value to the things that we do often that feels very routine. The mundane things that we do can be a little bit more lymph tensional, if you will.
I love that. And you speak about the difference between the lymphatic for this kind of understanding of the nervous system and our well-being and all of that. And there's also a big kind of trend right now around purely for cosmetic. So tell me what's happening there. Is everyone's kind of like, oh, you're going to fix my cellulite, or this is like for my wrinkles, this is an anti-aging thing. So what's happening in lymph world with these two tribes right now?
Oh yeah, lymph world. Well, so we've been using manual lymphatic drainage for the last 90 years, and they use it in hospitals for patients with lymphedema. And it just, as the research has come in over the decades, it's been interesting because yes, it is very commonly used by estheticians. A lot of holistic estheticians will use them. We'll use lymphatic drainage on people's face because our lymphatic system is really a fountain of youth. I mean, we are talking about the health of our cells. Mm-hmm. And so when our cells are vibrant and they're alive and we're making new ones and they're sticking around and they're great and happy, we're going to glow, right? So I think it's a lovely place where you can come, where beauty and health can meet a little bit and kiss.
Mm-hmm. I mean, health is always a good look.
Yes, health is so on trend always. So yeah, there's a clinical side, and those people really understand and are sympathetic and can work with complex cases. That's kind of what we do here in Austin, Texas. Our practice kind of is for women with chronic illness and disease. And the lymphatic drainage is so helpful for so many of them dealing with thyroid stuff. And I mean, chronic fatigue, mold toxicity, breast implant illness, you name it. We've got these people coming in, and it's such an important part for their healing. And then there's another side to it, like skill sets that I don't have, like body contouring and things like that, where there's wooden rollers and shapers and things like that. And sometimes, not sometimes, but there's just that side of it too, mm-hmm. So there's something for everyone out there in lymph land. And mm-hmm. there's different camps of people and what interests a massage therapist or an occupational therapist or physical therapist to specialize in whatever the thing that they do, because occasionally I will see pediatric clients, and yet it's such a rare thing. Like, I hope that there's somebody out there that specializes in lymphatic drainage for kids, mm-hmm. but I haven't connected with them yet. Mm-hmm. So there's so many different ways that we could take our career, like once we're on that path. And I just love women's health and, through some of my own healing and stuff like that. So it's been a really great experience for me, and Lymph Love has been really good to me. So I'm enjoying taking care of my lymphatic, and it's like mostly health and a little bit of that fountain of youth. Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Why not?
Why not get a good look?
Yes.
Yes. Why not? And so let's talk about women's health in particular. Let's talk about breasts. Let's talk about boobs on the internet. Let's talk about bras. Like,
Okay.
go for, like, what are your thoughts on the design of most bras?
Oh,
Because
well, we should probably talk about the design of most breasts first, right?
let's start there.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about what's inside the bra, because the bra's boring.
Yeah.
So our breast tissue is really incredible. It's rich with a lot of lymphatic vessels, particularly around the nipples. And then they kind of, they almost like starfish out to the sides and drain like a flower. And everything kind of drains into the axillary lymph nodes in our armpits. And there's about 30 to 50 lymph nodes per side. And so when it comes to, certain types of bras, because there's so many different designs, I don't think, it's such a broad statement to say like, oh, bras cause breast cancer. There's so many factors to why somebody gets sick. This is an article of clothing. I would never want to blame an article of clothing. But if we're looking at the design from an evolutionary standpoint, like just evolutionary medicine, these things that hang from our body are meant to swing. They're designed to swing. They're designed to move. Gravity's meant to move them, and they're meant to experience different environments, right? Different challenges to our tissue. And we tend to put them in a cast very young for reasons that feel kind of cultural, right? Complicated and cultural. Because not a lot of countries are doing that, the bra thing. You can find many natives doing their breast thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like a Western thing.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking Howard Hughes was part of the design team for the bra because it was for Rita Hayworth in a film? This whole like structural architecture of having this hourglass figure with very uplifted breasts that don't move.
I remember there being some sort of story like that where
I don't know if it's
a
an
man
urban
involved
myth
in the invention.
or but it was a male design. Sorry, men, just picking on you for this one moment. But it was something within film. It was to do with the aesthetic. It was not based around function. It was form driven that had a mismatch with function that we all just carried on saying yes to.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah, so interesting. I definitely, I don't know. My mom always wore really flow friendly bras. She never liked underwire or anything like that. And she had breast cancer in the late 90s. And thankfully she's still here. And that's kind of, I got a lot of self-care and health things from her that she was doing that were like pretty before her time. Before they were like before the internet. So before they were really popular.
And I mean, I remember, it was really a thing of going through puberty of like, I used to wear a vest and then suddenly it's like, oh, now I have like pert nipples. And then it's that moment of like, okay, you've got to go and like your mum's going to take you into town on a Saturday and you're going to go into what like in England, what was like Marks and Spencer's and they'll like fit you for a bra.
Yeah. Now it's your time. You just got to get in there.
It's like this, rites of passage thing. And there was never a what if. It's just done deal. Done deal. And not to be, and I always remember just feeling nicer in the vest than in a thing that I had to strap into myself.
Oh, I didn't even know how to like put one on in regards to like the latch ones.
Oh, the latch thing?
I would always tell me how you put your bra on when you were younger. I would always latch it in the front. I'd lash it at the front and then turn it around and put it in.
Hoist it up.
Okay. Some people would latch them and then put them over their head and just like shimmy it on. Or they were just really flexible and they would just like, oh.
Yeah, I can do the thing now, but then sometimes when there would be like the two clips and you'd get one clip and then the other clip would like stick into your skin.
Yeah.
Like, what are these things? Like, I'm always amazed what we're prepared to do. And also at the same time as women who move, I know a lot of, I'm not particularly large breasted, and I know for women who are active, it they want some control there when they're moving. When they're, and I know Catherine Bates, I can't remember her married surname now. She came to a MoveNat retreat in, I think it was Costa Rica or Thailand. And she would say, like, what are we going to be doing this afternoon? So that she would, because she had different bras for different activities to allow herself to be comfortable. And actually, as a result of that, she went away and she designed a bra. She was on Shark Tank. It's now a product. It's to have this thing. And I also know, like, there are times when if I can't expand my rib cage here and my body feels too constrained, there are movements I cannot do. I have women friends who can't do pull-ups if they're wearing a bra, and they can do the pull-up when they're wearing a bra, when they're not wearing a bra.
That's interesting.
And also my breathing feels off if this is tight. It's just, my body doesn't move. And it feels like a kind of alien thing. And I know so many women who are like, oh God, as soon as I get home, the first thing I do is take off my bra. It's like, wow, should we think about that a bit more?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the I guess, like, I did a week's worth of content about like how to transition off of boob control. And that's when you shared, that's how we got,
yeah,
that's how we got connected, was the snippet.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a really good idea.
Because it's kind of like, sometimes I want something here on the front, just a little bit of support.
It's like a layer.
But if I can't expand like to the side horizontally, I'm not breathing properly. And that's not even like getting me knowing much about lymph. So tell me more about boob control and the lymphatic system.
Well, I will say that our lymphatic fluid is always flowing. It may not be flowing optimally or as quickly as we would like. In fact, it's a very slow pulse for the lymphatic system. It's maybe like 10 to 12 beats per minute.
It has a beat.
Yeah. It kind of picks up on vibrations nearby. So like arteries and veins will kind of move it around a little bit, but really it is muscle activation that moves it. That's like the primary mover for lymphatic fluid. There is some smooth muscle on the lining of the lymphatic vessels, not unlike, the ones in our gut. So there is some nervous system regulation there of the lymphatic flow. But when it comes to, I just lost my train of thought.
Boob control.
Boob control. That's right. Lymph there. So, understanding that our breasts are an extension of our shoulder girdle was really helpful for me. It was kind of like my aha moment of like, oh yeah, if I do different things with my arms, different things happen with my boobs. So, I mean, I probably went down to like just really light compression bras like many years ago. And then I just stopped working out in them. And now I guess with the pandemic, I've just stopped wearing them altogether.
And everyone was like, done.
But it's interesting because it feels like an unnecessarily controversial subject. Everybody should feel comfortable in whatever they're doing. So, but I think it's also a little exciting to be a little uncomfortable, to see what something feels like, to see if you like it. I think a lot of women will kind of immediately shut down the bra thing. Like, oh, I can't do that. That's not for me. My breasts are too heavy. They're too full. And it's a bummer to have somebody dismiss something so quickly. Cause I'm like, but everybody that's tried it has found something, some sort of silver lining to it. And maybe they didn't just go completely bra free and they never wore a bra ever again, but they learned something about themselves and something about their body. And so I always invite that opportunity, for just learning a little something more about ourselves.
Just be curious. Be open.
Yeah. And I just feel like the shape of my breasts and the density of my breasts has changed since I stopped wearing bras.
In what way?
So, yeah, they just, I was on hormonal birth control for 17 years and I wore a lot of bras. And so they were just like really hard fibrotic. It was hard fibrotic tissue, and yet it was deflated. So they just, I don't know. I look at them.
Do you feel more perky?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think I notice it most when I'm lying down in bed, because they used to do like the armpit thing where I would just be like, they're just like getting caught and everything.
Move them over.
Yes. And that just it doesn't feel like that happens as much anymore. And just like the center, like my sternum, like I'm like, oh, I see something that used to be kind of flat where the boobs would go off to the sides, but I don't know, they're coming together really nicely.
And what kind of other feedback or insights have women had that you know of who have gone through this period of kind of debarring?
A lot of them have just reported back that they absolutely notice a difference, whatever that means to them. In the comment section, every time I do a boob post,
Always
every
good
time,
to do a boob post.
every time I do one, it always sparks a conversation, and then people talk amongst themselves because they're just sharing their experience and they want to feel helpful and useful. And they're like, oh, you got to try this, you got to do that. And they're, these breastfeeding mothers are giving each other, support and information. And I really love it. I feel like breasts really bring us together. Breast friends.
Yes.
But yeah, mostly the consensus is that people just feel something different. Like I notice something, I feel something, they feel lighter, there's no pain or less pain. And that just comes with time. Tissue takes time to adapt. We never get anywhere in our body overnight, really. Right? It just happens so slowly.
Yeah. I'm always about the overall trend, like no silver bullets. If you're looking for a silver bullet, I have none for you. Move on. But
yeah, everything takes
trend,
a little longer than we expect.
Yeah. And I think I think of it in the same way as I'm a big barefoot fan. And in the same way, if your feet have been shod and then you start to bring, awareness and connection to your feet, then you can have happier. I mean, feet have muscles and bones and it's different than the breasts, but this concept of a part of our body that's kind of, closed
Just
in.
get out of the way.
Yeah, that's put on mute.
Yes.
Is and I feel like none of us should be on mute if we want to have a whole body connection that we can listen to and therefore then adapt to and change our behaviors in ways that are going to serve us. That's kind of what I always look for. So kind of like, is it like moving, this kind of moving, touching, vibrating, bouncing? Talk to me about the rebound.
Oh, I love rebounding. So I got a rebounder for Christmas last year.
And this just looks like a little like circular trumpet, like a little trampoline type thing.
Yeah, it's
a friend
just
used to have one of these, and we used to go to raves in the early 90s.
That sounds fun.
To kind of like get her jazzed up, she'd be like, I'm just going to go on my trampoline for a bit. And she would go and do the rebound thing before we would go out to the rave. But
awesome.
That'll
get your heart rate going and your lymphatic system flowing. So yeah, these tiny trampolines, basically we're just kind of using physics and gravity and velocity and all these things to just push and propel our lymph forward, which is back to the heart. Lymph only moves in one direction. There are little flaps that kind of prevent backflow, which is a similar structure to our veins.
So which direction?
It's always moving towards the heart, but it's not always moving up necessarily. Sometimes lymph really likes to gravitate from the back of the body to the front, to the inguinal lymph nodes or to the axillary. So sometimes it'll travel horizontally, but it's always just moving, it's always moving forward.
I love that, because I think we have so many ideas that are either like, it's either top down or bottom up, but we're 360 degrees. And yet where are these 360 kind of phenomena? And it's not just the default of top down or bottom up.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah, but it's
Wow.
so great if you just jump up and down, whether it's on the balls of your feet rebounding, or you have the space and opportunity to put a little trampoline in your house.
Mhm.
I think that they first discovered how it was good for our lymphatic systems when they were sending people to space, and astronauts' cardiovascular systems just went crazy under zero gravity. So NASA did a pretty large study and found that rebounding was really good for the vascular system.
How cool.
So I really, I think even though it's simple, it's really powerful.
Simple is
And
often the most powerful.
and it's so accessible for people. I'm not saying that rebounding is right for everyone, but
Mhm.
if you were to do, I think most people could do it safely.
Mhm.
Um,
It's scalable.
because yeah, like our feet don't even have to leave the trampoline.
Mhm.
So that right there, even if we did kind of have some wobbly joints or things like that, maybe a vibration plate might be better. A
Mhm.
lot of times people will ask, should I get a vibration plate or a rebounder? And it really just depends. I don't think that people need both. Because it just takes up a lot of space.
Stuff. Yeah, it's more.
Yeah, stuff.
Yeah.
So I chose a rebounder because one, I thought it was going to be more fun. And two, I just was like, yeah, because I don't want to really stand on a platform and not
Mhm.
move. I
Mhm.
felt like I was like, I want to get air. I want to be able to like
Mhm.
do stuff on it.
Mhm.
So I chose a rebounder, but yeah, there are some reasons why somebody might want one over the other lymph
Sure.
gadget.
I've only ever been on a vibration plate, I think twice, and it was just a really strange experience.
Yeah.
Just of like, I don't know, like really feeling vibration like in your jaw, and
Hmm.
um and how you're seeing stuff as well whilst you're being vibrated, it's or in that state of vibration. I mean, I really like jumping, and so but I don't like just start like, okay, I'm gonna do like a jump from A to B. It's like I'll just like
Just bouncing.
just bounce,
Yeah.
just bounce
Yeah.
around. And I think bouncing is such a friendly invitation
Yeah.
for the body.
Yeah. And the nervous system, I feel like it communicates safety because
Yeah.
it's like fluidity in movement.
Mm-hmm.
A bounce is like it's a revolution. It's like it's a wave.
Mm-hmm.
So
And it's
it's
also something,
energetically moving through us.
yeah, and we choose the speed,
Mm-hmm.
which I really like. And I also know I love the movement snacks that are really soothing for the nervous system. And while sometimes it's good to kind of, be on the floor and to roll around and do all those kind of things, sometimes you just need to like shake it out. Sometimes it needs to be a little bit more like I'm standing, I'm upright, and I need this kind of like shake it out and bounce. And it's so close to this, to kind of dance in so many ways. Like it always
Mm-hmm.
kind of makes me think of like there's a little bounce dance, or when we dance, or when we have those things, it kind of invites that. And I mean, as a kid, I never knew anyone who wanted to come off the trampoline.
Oh yeah. We had a lot of wisdom as children. All those
Mhm.
like primal things that we're hardwired for, humming,
Yeah.
movement,
Hmm.
play, connectivity, sleep, all the things.
That's my world. Like let's just can we bring back the inner child and let them
Mm.
be in charge of some stuff these days? That would be really helpful. So thank you. So I mean, this is really insightful into how people can start to value the system, to really know what it is and where it is and what it does. What is the message that you really want to share? Like if there's anything that we haven't covered, like what is the kind of what's always like the burning thing when you're like, oh, I wish people would talk about this, or I wish this was more widely known.
Mm. Well, that's a really great question, and I appreciate you asking it because I think everybody is looking for a silver bullet, right? Or
Mhm.
just they've tried so many things that they're just still searching for the thing. But I think the one thing that a lot of people will overlook is that nervous system piece, that stress piece. And they're so busy like doing, and this is especially true for people that have a chronic condition that are really trying to push themselves to heal. And they want to do it from here, they want to do it with their brain and rational thinking. And we can't heal that way. It kind of has to be going back to that, like, surrender to the flow. We really have to go at the pace of our body, because our body isn't going to allow anything if it's not ready. So to really come into alignment with our healing, and whatever healing means for us, whatever we're working to heal, it really needs to come from a place that is from within our body versus our mind.
Yeah, I always tell people, if your mind's in trouble, like, send in the body to help. If your body's struggling, you need the mind to help as well. Like this duality of our whole being. And yeah, there's an evolutionary mismatch with what our brain does and how we think and how we live. And our biology is just like, it's just over here. It's only going to do this until and then you're going to keep asking, and then it's going to be like, okay, enough. We're just closing things down for a little while until you really begin to like have a relationship with yourself that is moving you in a way that is sustainable and at ease and can heal from.
That's like it's like the ideal place for healing. I didn't always live presently in my body. My body wasn't always a safe place for me to be. And so it's been really great. And now I get to do that, for other people, help them come into themselves, which is great.
It's beautiful work. So I always ask everybody, what are you doing for fun right now? In Leah's
that's a
world?
great question.
Leah, what are you doing? What do you do for fun right now?
I really love to see live music. We'll be traveling to Montana to see a band called Goose, and then hooking over to Yellowstone National Park. So, nature and vibration, I guess, any way that I can get it. That's what I do for fun.
That is good energy. And vibration is just, I remember studying like sound engineering, and it was like, well, sound is just the vibrations of particles through an atmosphere. So we're always in a state of being sensitive to vibration, which I really, really love. So thank you for joining me today. Where can people find you?
You can find me. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter under Lymph Love Club. You can check out some of the online offerings that I have. I do teach lymphatic drainage, like how to do it to yourself on through courses. So my website is lymphloveclub.com. And if you are in Austin, Texas, you can come see us in person at Align Massage Company.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.